This is the Project Management Podcast. We bring project management topics to beginners and experts. Find us on the web at www.thepmpodcast.com or send your emails to pmpodcast@gmail.com.
Hello and welcome to episode number 127. I am Cornelius Fichtner. This is the Project Management Podcast for the 19th of September 2009. Nice to have you with us. Earlier this week, I spent a couple of days in Florida at the Gartner Group's Project Portfolio Management and IT Summit. We were at the beautiful Gaylord Palms Resort in Orlando, and it just blew my mind when I walked in there. It's a octagon that's covered and completely air-conditioned. I'd never seen anything like this before. Anyway, here I had a chance to sit down with Mark Langley, who is PMI's Chief Operating Officer. In the interview that you'll hear in just a moment, we'll learn why PMI has sent a delegation to this PPM Gartner event. We hear some feedback that the PMI has received on the recent release of the second editions of its standard for program management and the standard for portfolio management. We discuss the challenges that organizations face nowadays in regards to program and portfolio management, and of course, how PMI can help organizations address and deal with these challenges. During our conversation, we also touch several times upon the upcoming PMI North American Congress, which, by strange coincidence, is in the very same convention center where this very interview was recorded. Unfortunately, I won't be able to go there myself this year because I'll be in Switzerland at the beginning of October, but I really strongly recommend that you attend this PMI Congress. I've always found that PMI Congresses are the best place to connect with project managers from around the world. Before we get to our main interview, I have one small request for you. The request is rather simple. Please recommend the Project Management Podcast to just one of your colleagues. I assume that you are listening and you're subscribed to the PM Podcast because you get great value from our discussions and interviews. Therefore, I'd like to ask you to please help spread the word. So please go ahead and tell just one other person today about the Project Management Podcast and how much value you get from listening to it. And now we are continuing with the interview. Mark Langley is the Chief Operating Officer of PMI. In this role, he oversees all operations of the Institute, including market and business development, member and organization relations, career management, brand management, information technology, and organization performance, which is finance and administration. Over the past year, he visited 7 countries and spent more than 100 days traveling on behalf of PMI and the project management profession. Mark joined PMI in 2002 as Director of Finance and Administration, and he was then promoted first to Managing Director and then to COO to better reflect his duties and responsibilities in today's global environment. He brings over 20 years of experience to PMI in the areas of organization strategy, operations, and financial management, in addition to expertise in international business, strategic planning, acquisitions planning and implementation, shareholder and investor relations, as well as IT planning and management. Enjoy the interview.
The Project Management Podcasts feature interview.
Today with Mark Langley, Chief Operating Officer, Project Management Institute.
Hello, Mark, and welcome to the program.
Thanks, Cornelius.
So tell me, why does PMI attend the Gartner PPM and IT Summit here in Orlando, Florida? Are you actually trying to learn something, or are you just 3 weeks early?
well, really both. We are trying to learn something, and we're also trying to share what PMI's mission is and some of the things we're doing in the area of PPM. And if I had my way, I would spend 3 weeks on holiday here, but PMI doesn't allow that. So unfortunately, I'll be on the first plane out of here after the conference is over. But as you know, the area of PPM, project and program management, and especially portfolio management, is of great interest to PMI's members and practitioners. We're representing roughly about 500,000 people now around the world, and thousands of organizations that they're engaged in. And as they've implemented project management, hopefully on an enterprise basis, and they're moving towards maturity, the next question becomes for them, or challenge for them, is program and portfolio management. And Gartner obviously is a leader in the analyst community, and this conference topically was right where we wanted to be. In December, I think you're aware, we launched the second edition of our program and portfolio standards, 2 separate standards, as well as the 4th edition of the PMBOK guide, focused on project management, and the Organization Project Management Maturity Model, OPM3, the acronym, and that's its 2nd edition. So tied in nicely to what our focus was last year and rolling into this year with those launches. And we thought this was Gartner's first conference on PPM and IT governance, and I thought it would be a great opportunity to come down and learn, as you suggested, but also share what PMI is doing in the space.
Excellent. We'll come back to the second editions and 4th editions of the standards that you have released in just a moment. But to come back to my initial quib here, I said, you're just 3 weeks early because you do have the PMI North American Congress exactly in this hotel here, as does Gartner right now.
Yes, it's ironic, something along those lines. Yes, we do. Our PMI, as you know, has 4 global congresses, each in the major regions of the world. So our North American Congress in 2009 is being held right here at the Gaylord Palms in Orlando, Florida, where we'll have probably close to 3,000 attendees and a full exhibit hall focused on project, program, and portfolio management.
It sounds like it's even bigger than last time in Denver.
It should be close. Denver was the largest to date. We've been doing it under the Congress model since 2003. Before that, it used to be called Seminars and Symposium, but Denver was our largest in the history of running the program. But it's
still 3,000 people. That's
it should be a big
sizable event.
Yeah,
sizable event.
Very large. A lot of interest, and it continues to grow. So,
all right, let's come back to the various standards that were released. We had the PMBOK guide, the 4th edition. We had in the 2nd edition the standard for program management, for portfolio management, and also OPM3. And since we're here at the Gartner PPM and IT Summit, let's focus here on the program management and portfolio management standards. Initially, when you released the 1st edition, people said, how can you release a 1st edition about program management? We don't even know how we define program management. So what came out of that discussion?
Well, actually, that's exactly the feedback. It was even before we went into development of the standard. We socialized the issue with some of the organizations that we deal with, very large, some of them IT organizations, some of them aerospace, defense, but big users of program and portfolio management. And what the feedback we got directly from them was, we don't know how we define program management. How can you go out and develop a standard around it? And so strategically, it was met not with resistance, but with a fair bit of curiosity and question. And our decision was to go forward and develop it, to put a stake in the ground around program management. So we wanted the debate to begin, and because it's the best for the profession. Sometimes when there's a fair and even debate around the benefits of program management and how it is executed in organizations, the things they should be doing to achieve success at the strategic and business level. So the debate began. We launched the 1st edition a few years back, 2 or 3 years ago, knowing that we were going to come to a refresh cycle a little bit sooner than we did. So we launched the 2nd edition this past December. And overall, it's been a big improvement over the 1st, is the feedback we've gotten, but still a lot of room for opportunity, because the more project management matures, the more program management matures, and portfolio management matures, the integration of the 3 becomes critical, and there's more knowledge being built around the execution of program management. So we're already into the refresh cycle for the 3rd edition. And we'll look to see a vast improvement there as well.
Yeah. What was the feedback that you got for the 2nd editions here on program and portfolio management standards? Particularly, did you get any feedback from Gartner?
Well, Gartner did do a review of at the publication date earlier this year. I believe it was in the April timeframe. So overall, the feedback, I think, on the portfolio was very solid. There was some questions that they had around things they thought were missing in the program management standard, but like I said, the program management standard addressed program management as it's being performed now. Most of, I think, the insight that the the lead reviewer had was around, I would call things like integration. So the integration of the program within portfolio and then with the project. So they were looking for a little bit more integration, but they did see some real strengths in there as well. And we'll take that feedback as well as feedback from the organizations that we deal with around the world that are utilizing the standard to measure their own program management against. And we'll take that into the next cycle, and we'll look to see some improvements in expanding program management as a knowledge base.
Mm-hmm. Based on what you heard here at the Gartner event, what would you say are the challenges that organizations these days are faced with when it comes to program and portfolio management and governance in general?
Well, I think I'd be remiss not to say that the economy is causing great challenges for everyone.
Yes.
So most of the questions that we ask or get asked are always start with recognizing the economy or even before the economy, and so people are at least starting to think about when we're out of this mess that we're in terms of the global economic slowdown or recession in many countries. So if we could put that aside, which I know is difficult to do, there's obviously a unique set of challenges that brings, but it will go away eventually. Organizations are really struggling with the things that program and portfolio management can help them do, which is around prioritization and making the right choices, taking what's even more limited resources now and applying to the most important projects and programs that they have, ultimately to deliver value to the customer. At the end, they're all worried immensely about delivering the value that they're supposed to the customer, whether it's an internal customer for some of these large IT organizations or whether it's a customer external facing, consumer products group or something like that. They're all worried around, they're worried very much about delivering that value, that customer value.
Yeah. Who is the target group for those two standards, program management, portfolio management? Is it the program/portfolio manager, or is it also your everyday project manager that should actually go through these standards and know what it's all about?
Well, clearly the target audience is the terms that are used here in Gartner and even within PMI, PMO director or executive level for program and certainly for portfolio management. If you have the portfolio decision in your set of responsibilities, you're generally a pretty senior executive in an organization. But project managers have to understand where they fit within a program, within the portfolio to be truly effective. If one of the things we know that project managers, years ago, as you know, we started as an individual and still are an individual membership organization, but our members over time took a while, about 30 years of our 40. By the way, we celebrate our 40th anniversary this year.
Oh, yes.
In October here at the Gaylord Palms.
Oh, and I'm not going to be here.
I know, but you were invited.
I know. Yeah, sorry about that.
But you'll send somebody in your stead, right?
I'll be here virtually. We have a virtual presentation, and I'll be logging on from Switzerland.
Yeah, but so for the first 30 or so years, the members have essentially said, you've done a good job, helping us, developing us, giving us, resources, education, certification, standards to work with. But to be truly effective in our roles, our organizations have to understand project and program management, and our own research independently pointed to that. So, at the turn 2000 with the millennium, I'll just use that as a target date, we began to focus a little bit more on organizations. So it's critical that our project managers understand the context within which they work, right? So they work on a project maybe only. They also work within a program, they also work within a portfolio, and every day, not only are they making decisions around the project, but somebody's making decisions around the projects for them, the programs, and the portfolio, especially in the areas of investment and risk, which are, from a senior executive level, two of the most critical areas. They're worried about investment and risk for the enterprise. Mm-hmm. So the better you can understand that as a project manager, the more effective you'll be.
All right. You mentioned the challenges earlier on that organizations have these days. How can PMI help organizations to address these challenges? Is it just through the two standards, or are there any other offerings?
No, I think those that have employed project management clearly can benefit from some of the things we have around maturity. So OPM3 is a model, but there's facets of OPM3 that they can use both on a self-sufficiency basis. So there's a self-assessment aspect of OPM3, but there's also a set of tools, and we have a program that certifies consultants in OPM3 and how to use OPM3, or not how to use it, but using OPM3 in clients. So an organization that's been involved in project and program management, and by the way, OPM3 does assess against project, program, and portfolio management capabilities, not just project capabilities. They can use either on a self-assessment basis or engage somebody to help them in the area of maturity, which is critical. But When it comes to the people, which I think one of the themes that I certainly heard here and resonated with a lot of the Gartner analysts is that people remain central to success. So one of our areas of focus has been in the area of career development, and we have a focus on career framework, we call it, which is a competencies and skills framework. We have a product called Path Pro, which helps organizations develop career paths, position descriptions, assessing against competency skills for project, program, and portfolio management, as well as some of the leadership and business competencies and skills that they need. So we have this, and it's available to our members and certified professionals at no cost, and available to organizations at no cost. The only thing they have to do is register with us, tell us a little bit about who they are, a name and an email address essentially, and they can have access to this web-based tool. And to help them build that competency in their organization.
Great. I had no idea that existed.
Yep.
Great.
Yep.
Good. We got that one out. Let's close it with a call for action for our listeners here, because we want them to sign up for the PMI North American Global Congress. Can you tell us again, when is it going to be and where can they sign up?
It's at the Gaylord Palms in Orlando.
Right.
And the first official day is October 12th. I think it's a Sunday. And that's the grand opening. But if they're really interested in recognition for the profession, the night before is our professional awards program.
Right.
And we have the project of the year and some other big awards that are handed out in a nice ceremony and a reception afterwards. And they can come in, and I believe that's part of their registration fee as well. And our keynote speaker this year is T. Boone Pickens. So a person that's run a few projects in his lifetime, and very interested in some of the new technologies that are going to drive the future, I think, wind and water and so on. So we're anxious to hear what he has to say, and he'll focus a lot on leadership and some of the things that made him successful and the people that have worked for him successful, in particular those that have run projects and programs for him. So it should be a really good conference. I think that they'll benefit greatly from that conference, as well as some of the other ones we run around the world. But this is an event where they really get to network and share a lot of their knowledge and experience that they have as individuals, and they find what we call qualified discussion partners. So they'll be able to find, on a networking basis, somebody that has their interests, their background, their experience, and there's enough of a cross-section of the world that they will find somebody to connect with here.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. At every PMI event that I have been, great speakers, but the place where I really got most out of it is out in the hallways when you talk to the people from around the world, the project managers who have the same problems as you do, and you realize you're not alone. There's someone out there who can help you, who can empathize with your problems and help you move forward. That's always been the best for me when it comes to these events.
I agree. It is for us too, because we get to meet people that are actually in the job during the day and face some of the challenges, and we get to hear firsthand what their pain points are, what keeps them up at night, and that's the critical thing, because then we can go back and work on things that can help them be successful.
All right, Mark, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Cornelius. Great to see you again.
And that was our discussion with Mark Langley. That's it for today. Thank you very much for listening. At this point, let me remind you of that one small request I had for you earlier. Please go ahead and tell just one person today about the Project Management Podcast. As always, you can find us on the web at thepmpodcast.com. And if you are a project manager who wants to become a PMP, then the easiest way to do so is with our sister podcast, the Project Management Prepcast, and study for the exam by watching over 38 hours of video training from pmprepcast.com. And if you are already a PMP, then stop by at pmlectures.com. We go beyond just delivering PDUs. We give you exclusive training from the brightest mind in project management today. Please send your emails to pmpodcast@gmail.com, and when you write, please tell me where in the world you are writing from. Thank you. And finally, we have this. Measuring software development progress by lines of code is like measuring aircraft building progress by weight. Until next time.